Welcome to the Explainer. Today we've got a really fantastic story for you. We're going to look at a single industrial crisis, but we're going to tell it two completely different ways, just to see how access to the right knowledge can change absolutely everything.
So here's the setup, and it's a doozy. You've got a high-tech factory down in Monterrey, Mexico. But the one person, the only person, who truly understands their most complex machine, well, he's in Munich, Germany. That's a 9,000-kilometer gap, a whole ocean, and a 7-hour time difference standing between a huge problem and its only solution.
And we are not talking about just any old piece of equipment here. This is an $850,000 5-axis mill turn center. Think of it like a super advanced robotic sculptor for metal. It's absolutely critical for making precision parts. So, when this thing stops, the entire production line grinds to a halt, and the clock starts ticking, really, really expensively.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run a little experiment. We're going to watch this disaster unfold using the traditional, old-school way of doing things. And then we're going to hit rewind and see how the exact same situation plays out with a totally new approach to sharing expertise.
Okay, so before we get to the breakdown, let's really paint the picture of this factory. You need to understand the context to appreciate just how high the stakes are.
Just to give you a sense of the complexity we're dealing with, the technical manual for the machine's control system, it's over 12,000 pages long. Yeah, this is not something you can just Google your way out of. You need deep, specific, hard-won knowledge to figure out what's gone wrong.
And this, right here, this is the human side of the challenge. All that crucial knowledge from those 12,000 pages, it's pretty much locked up in one person's head, Stefan, the guy with 28 years of experience, an entire ocean away. Back in Mexico, the team on the ground, led by Roberto, is sharp, they're capable, but a failure this big, they're way out of their depth.
Okay, so the scene is set. It's 2:15 in the afternoon in Mexico. The factory's humming, everything is going smoothly. And then, bam! A loud metallic crash echoes from the heart of the plant, the one sound nobody ever wants to hear.
So what was that sound? A spindle collision. It's bad. The machine stops dead and its screen just lights up with red alarm messages. Now these codes you see, 25,000, 10604, and 380040, they're like a digital breadcrumb trail, and they're telling the story of a very, very expensive failure.
All right, let's watch this play out the old way. Roberto, the supervisor, he runs to the machine, sees the alarms, and he knows he's in deep trouble. So he does what people have been doing for decades. He picks up the phone to make a late-night international call to the expert, Stefan.
The call comes in at 9:25 p.m. for Stefan, who was probably just winding down for the night. And right off the bat, we hit a snag. Roberto admits he tried to restart the machine, a move that likely took a bad situation and made it so much worse. What follows is just a painfully slow, 2-hour ordeal of trying to diagnose this incredibly complex machine over a crackly phone line.
And here's where things get even more frustrating. Stefan is giving instructions in English, right? But Roberto's looking at an interface in Spanish, and a simple term like actual current doesn't have a direct one-to-one translation in the menu. Every single instruction turns into this slow, confusing, and super error-prone translation game. It's a recipe for disaster.
This quote just perfectly captures the human cost. You can almost hear Stefan's internal sigh. He knows Roberto made a huge mistake, but he also knows getting angry isn't going to fix a thing. The stress on both ends of that phone line is just immense.
Okay, hit the rewind button. Let's go all the way back to that crash at 2:15 p.m. The alarms flash, Roberto rushes over, but this time, instead of touching the machine, he pulls out his phone.
He just snaps a photo of the alarm codes, and an app on his phone instantly analyzes them. And the very first thing it tells him is this critical warning. Boom. That one sentence right there prevents the exact same costly mistake that happened in our first story. It's a game changer.
But it gets better. It doesn't just give a warning. It gives Roberto a clear step-by-step diagnostic plan. It tells him exactly what to check, in what order, with the precise menu paths he needs to follow, all in his own language. In seconds, he goes from panicked guessing to having an expert-level plan right in his hand.
So, Roberto follows step 1. He runs the spindle at a low RPM and checks the current. The app told him to expect a reading between 8 and 12 amps. What does he get? 34 amps. That's it. That's not a guess. It's not an opinion. It's cold, hard data confirming severe damage.
So get this. Following the app's guide, Roberto finishes all 4 diagnostic checks in just 25 minutes. 25! No late-night call, no language barrier, no stressfully reading numbers over a bad connection. He has the exact same data the expert would have wanted, and he got it all by himself.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We've seen 2 totally different ways to get to the same answer, but what does that actually mean for the factory? For the bottom line? Let's break it down.
First, let's talk about the one thing every factory manager obsesses over: downtime. The old way, with all its delays in diagnosis and ordering parts, led to 66 hours of lost production. The new, faster way? Just 32 hours. It cut the downtime by more than half. That is huge.
And this table? Wow, it just lays it all out. The diagnosis time plummeted from over 2 hours on the phone to just 35 minutes. Stefan's billable time was cut by 75%. And because the diagnosis was so certain, they didn't waste money ordering a $2,200 part they didn't even need.
So when you add it all up, the saved production, the expert's time, the unnecessary part, the total savings on this single incident comes to over $11,000. And that's not even counting the cost of the main part they had to replace anyway.
But really, this story isn't just about saving 11 grand on one broken machine in Mexico. This is about a fundamental shift in how a global company can manage and share its most valuable asset, expertise.
You see, the old way has these massive hidden costs. Think about Stefan. He can't keep taking late-night emergency calls forever. That's just a direct path to burnout. And when he eventually leaves or retires, all that knowledge walks right out the door with him. Plus, you can't clone Stefan. His team can only handle a few fires at once, which creates a huge bottleneck for the whole company.
And that really leaves us with this final, powerful question. What if you could change the model? What if you could take that priceless expertise out of one person's head and put it into a system that anyone, anywhere, can use? When you do that, you don't just solve one problem faster. You empower your entire team, you make your best knowledge scalable, and you fundamentally change the entire equation of how you deal with a crisis.